We have another example of civil servants and bureaucrats working against our national interests. Yes, a former chief of the Home Office, the department responsible for our safety and policing and the borders, has come out to say basically implying that protecting our borders and the policies from the government that they want to use to protect the borders are very, very evil. This is Emma Haddad, I believe. That's how I pronounce her name, yep. She said that the policies that proposed to protect the borders and bringing down the numbers of illegal migration are actually inhumane, racist, and divisive. This person, until recently, was in charge of a huge division inside the government, in the Home Office, to keep us safe. The problem we have with bureaucracy in this country, in our so-called Western democratic system, is that we have no power and no say when it comes to these people. These are the people actually running the governance of the country, but we do not elect them. We don't hire or fire them. And the politicians that we think we're electing, they are weak and feeble. They have become part of the system, or they are cowards. They're supposed to be our representatives in government to make sure that the policies are being implemented that we want. But even if you have a politician that wants to implement the right policies, they are being completely shut down by these faceless bureaucrats, and every now and then we find out who they are and we expose them. This channel, that's my job. Anyway, she's now joining Amnesty International, another political organization. This is another Sue Gray scandal. It's about the revolving door culture that we've talked about before. How these faceless bureaucrats who say we are only there to serve the public and the state, they immediately leave and join political organizations, whether it's a political party or a campaign group like Amnesty, but they get away with it because for decades the political left keep creating organizations and institutions, but they use a different name. They're not open and honest about the fact that these are campaign groups, these are political causes. They say, no, this is just about humanity. This is not political. The BLM movement was a good example. They said, no, we just want equality of races. But we discovered, of course, it was a political cause. Same thing with Amnesty International, saying, well, now we just want human rights. Do you? What have you done about it? Or we're going to expose Amnesty International later in the same video. But before we do that, there's so many of them. Greenpeace. Oh, that's another beauty. They said, we just want Greenpeace. We just want the green, happy world and environment. Yeah. You're corrupt. You're liars. And you are going out there creating your own agenda, which is leftism. One source described Ms. Haddad as a very difficult and the chief blocker of ministers' policies during her time at the Home Office. A Home Office source claimed that during her time at the top of the department, the senior civil servant was hostile to the government's agenda on asylum, including a plan to move migrants out of taxpayer-funded hotel rooms and into larger-scale accommodation. So she was actively fighting against the British interest. She was actively using her own political beliefs to block policies. And apparently that's normal. Where are these people, the intellectual liberals, the centrists, who are, whether they're journalists or whatever they are, who go on TV and hold the right wing to account, saying, well, some guy, some random person who I'm going to call far right on Twitter said something mean. We have to hold that to account because of the rise of fascism. Why are you not holding these guys to account if you truly care about democracy? You keep saying that, well, the right wing are coming out because they want to bring down democracy. What about Ms. Haddad, who's actively been trying to go against democracy? What about the EU rejoiners, who've been actively asking and demanding a second referendum or rejoining the European Union? You don't care about democracy or sovereignty. Anyway, she said, as with any civil servant, my job was to serve the government of the day. All civil servants must abide by the Civil Service Code and uphold the civil service's core values of integrity, honesty, objectivity, and impartiality. So this is another pre-prepared statement, which could be done by using an artificial intelligence chatbot like ChatGPT. These are just words. They mean nothing. It's like when Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister and said, my governments will be honest and transparent and professional. Just because you self-identify as professional and impartial doesn't mean you are professional and impartial, Ms. Haddad. So that's one problem. Secondly, we now have a bit of evidence that you've been blocking policies. So these people are professional. They are professional liars, and they are trained. They are skilled manipulators. They go through their own training to become civil servants, but throughout the process, they also meet other civil servants. Some, again, not all of them, some of them, who have their own agenda. Of course, they're going to have chit chat. Of course, they're going to tell them this is how you do it, without openly and publicly breaking the code of civil service. So it's time to reform the code of civil service. If this is the problem, if they have found loopholes, we need to close down the loopholes. Anyway, Ms. Haddad's move to amnesty will also heighten concerns about the revolving door culture between Whitehall and organizations that seek to influence government policies. So that also includes the Labour Party and Keir Starmer's office. When Sue Gray left civil service, immediately getting a job as Keir Starmer's chief of staff, while still having access to inside information about governance of the country, it's not really correct. If we have the same policy on government ministers not being allowed to instantly leaving government and working for lobby firms, the same should apply to civil servants getting a job at a campaign organization that wants to not only influence the government in the country, but also want to bring down the system. This is complete treasonous. But no, you can't say that because it's politically incorrect. Amnesty International is one of the most corrupt organizations that's based on lies and corruption, of course, and at the same time coercion as well. This was back in the day, well, actually quite recently. Amnesty International has toxic working culture, according to a report, bullying, public humiliation, discrimination, and the whole thing threatened the rights group's credibility. They were too busy going around attacking Brexit and Donald Trump, but inside the organization, they had a toxic culture. That wasn't the first time we had a report like this. We also had this. January this year, Amnesty International accused of gender discrimination by former staff. The ex-staff said that the organization in Hungary, and at least as well as America, has failed to tackle systemic abuse and a culture of misogyny. We've had these things before. The UK headquarters had a lot of accusations of being bullying everybody else. So they don't believe in human rights when it comes to their own staff and their own organization and everything else they've done across the world in the name of human rights. The same Amnesty International lied about the mass executions in Iran in 1988. They do not hold the Iranian regime, the Islamic occupation of Iran, to account. They are more busy, distracted, by attacking Israel and the UK and America and Australia and Canada. But no. Hamas, Hezbollah, the Iranian regime, they're the good guys. They're the good guys. Australia rejected Amnesty's report as a slur. This was when Australia denied the report by Amnesty International that it secretly paid off people smugglers. The report cites 2 instances of arranging payments, and then we discovered that was a lie. So you had the Prime Minister, Tony Abbott, with his policy to turn the boats around. There was a legal agreement, and they turned the boats around. Amnesty International to try to start this smear campaign, fake news, pretending that we've discovered that they are working with people smugglers, the Australian government. Then we found out, well, that was a lie. Literally libelous. But nothing happened. The Australian government could have sued them, but they didn't do it, under a lot of pressure from the other vested interests. They keep getting away with it. We have Amnesty International calling Israel a scum state. Now, people have their own opinions. Some people like the Israeli government. Some people hate the Israeli government. Normal citizens have the right to free speech. We get it. But an organization that pretends to be in favor of human rights, going out there and calling governments and countries a scum state, how can you take that seriously? Whatever your views are on Israel, is that right? Nah, probably not. Anyway, so I hope Ms. Haddad has a great time in Amnesty, getting bullied. Or maybe she's going to be the bully. Let me know your thoughts. I'm Mahyar Tousi, and we are the media.